Welcome to Project Pack number 25. She's Molly.
And she's Martha. Welcome, everyone. This is the 12 Days of Zentangle 2024.
Yes.
And we are working on our Project Pack number 25. This theme of this Project Pack, I'm sure you've kind of gotten used to it, but if you're tuning in for the first time here today, we are working on a focus on the drawing behind method, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah, lots of dimension and depth that we're working on.
Yeah, we're digging into some advanced shading techniques. We're playing with black and white and all kinds of shades of gray in between. We have some fun materials we're working with here today. We have a couple black microns, a gray micron. We have a black watercolor pencil, a jelly roll, and two different types of graphite and a white charcoal pencil. So lots of multimedia here to kind of get some layers down on our tiles. If you don't have these specific materials, they are available at zentangle.com in our project pack collection, and all purchases of a Zentangle project pack do support the production of these videos. If you don't have these materials, we do of course invite you to use whatever materials you do have at home. And
all right.
On that note,
are we ready to get started?
I'm ready to go.
All right. So I'm going to clear my workspace here. Put all of these materials aside, but I'm going to have them at my fingertips.
That sounds good, Martha.
And we're working on a white pie tile today.
Yeah, and shall we do like a little moment?
Yeah, let's just take a moment.
I think that's a good idea. I invite you to gently close your eyes or perhaps find a focal point and just give yourself what we say, a moment. Maybe recognize your breath. Set aside some of your thoughts for gratitude. Anything in your world you're feeling grateful for in this very moment. Try to put all your racing thoughts aside for a few minutes as we pick up our pens and tangle.
All right. So we are working on a white pie tile today, and I'm starting right off with a black Micron 08.
Yeah, it's a hardy pen.
It is a hardy pen, but I feel like as we get experience with tangling, we also kind of have more comfort and control with our lines, and we can press harder for a nice thick line, and we can also lighten up on our strokes if we want to have a finer line, and we get all that with one pen nib.
Yeah, and it's funny, Martha, as my Zentangle practice grows, I find myself becoming more attracted to fatter pens.
Yeah,
and
bolder lines.
Yeah,
maybe.
And then coming back to my finer pens for honing and kind of tightening in, but it's crazy how I've been I think I like starting with these bigger, bolder pens.
Yeah, I think it comes with confidence. I wanted to just give you guys a heads up on the tangle that we're about to do. We're going to do kind of a mono tangle, but we're going to dig in deep to this tangle, and it might be new for some of you, and the name of the tangle is Foundabout.
I feel like I want to start singing the Gin Blossoms song.
What song is that,
Isn't
Molly?
Gin Blossoms song. I found out about you.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll save that for another time. All right. Foundabout. Very fun. Okay, so Foundabout is organic tangle, and it grows in a beautiful way, like a beanstalk or any type of meandering plant. And it starts with this sort of, it's almost like a ladder of spines, and each spine will belong to one of the blossoms. So I'm going to start, somewhere near the bottom. And if you want to watch me first.
I feel like that's a good note.
A good note to watch first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be creating these spines that have a little curve to them, and one grows on top of another. And we're going to start out with this sort of curve spine like this. And I'm not going to close the bottom there right now. I'm going to leave that bottom open for something maybe a little bit
for
later.
options.
So the next step is about halfway up this spine. I'm going to grow another one, kind of growing in the opposite direction, and then continue on up the way. So about halfway up, nice curved spine.
And I found when I do my foundabout, I often don't make mine long enough. So that's like, you want to make them, like,
Yes.
see Martha's proportions to make sure.
Right. And as this is a big tile that we're working on, and anytime you're putting down your first layer of ink, you wanting to be working pretty big because you guessed it, we're going to be putting stuff inside of this. So about halfway up, I'll draw another curved spine. About halfway up, curve spine. It's kind of a lovely little dance too. I'm going up the center of this tile here. You could kind of work for them from the corner if you like. I feel like you get, and you can add like a little baby one at the top here maybe.
Tiny one.
Yeah. So the next part is we're going to be drawing the outer shapes of each one of these sort of blossoms that surround these spines. I'm going to start by drawing a nice curve shape, almost like a bell shape, where I sort of take off from what's here at the tip, come down, and then offer a nice little bell shape right to the bottom. All right, and so now we've started on the left, and now I'm going to go to the right. And this might take some practice, but I'm kind of landing right on the bottom there, right on that line. And here, taking off, landing right at the bottom, come down, alternating. The key to this is alternating and not trying to go all the way up one side. You really do have to do this dance back and forth. A little small one at the top. So starting to take shape. And now we're going to do the other half of each one of these blossoms. And this is sort of this drawing behind trick that happens. So we're going to start again at the bottom. We're going to take off from this tip. And when we get to this spine here, we're going to draw behind and finish down here. Doing the other half. And then up here again, kind of taking off. And then drawing behind.
I was actually excited when we were talking about, like, what are good tangles that use the drawing behind technique, which is like so many, because you can kind of use it even when it's not part of their natural step out. But this is one where it's in the actual,
yes.
part of the. It's curious.
Yeah, it's so fun how they nestle in.
Well, I've noticed almost all of Mom's tangles are drawn behind. Like she digs into that.
Yes, naturally so.
Love
Last
it.
little one on top.
It's like a curious collection of shapes.
Yeah, it really is. And then down here, kind of in a cute little clever way, you can cap off your stem any way you like, but you can draw a fancy little loop there. And give it a little handle.
That's cute.
Yeah, kind of fun. Now, I'm going to start filling in these beautiful spaces here. I still have my black 08 pen. And kind of right around where the intersection of the two spines meet, I'm going to draw a nice curved, inky kind of half circle there. And then It's going to be on the other side too, but I don't want to tangle or ink in on the spine. So you see how it's, again, behind what's already there. Almost like a hole. So over here where the intersection is, draw a nice full inked in space here. And then as if it continues on the other side, but behind everything that's already there. Always starting on the full side where you can draw that full expression of the half circle. I guess that's a little bit of an oxymoron there. Full half circle. And the other side it's going behind. Noticing how each one of these kind of foundabout pods, not any one of them is the same exact shape. So I'm enjoying the organic part of this process. At the top here gets its own little shape.
So cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
All right, so Molly's gonna kind of step in here and
add a little something.
Add a little something.
Okay, I am going to use the gray pen to kind of put in some texture into this beautiful foundabout that Martha started for me. And this is a light gray pen. It's kind of cool because I almost feel like it's the same color as pencil.
Oh, it's definitely very similar to our regular graphite pencil.
Yeah, so you can kind of play around with stuff, I think in a really interesting way where it looks like you used pencil, but you have the fine detail of a pen, and then you can use pencil over it. So I've found this to be a really cool pen that we've used it like quite a few times actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be drawing these like radiating lines coming out of these little, they almost end up looking like a coffee bean here, but these half moon shapes that she put in there. And then I'm going to weight the end. So I like to start sort of in the middle and then fill both ways. So just a very kind of radiating line with a little weight there. And then just kind of aura each side. Putting a little weight there. And then the lines might start to sort of curve a little bit.
Yeah, I like that curving element. I think that kind of honors the shape that you have there before.
Right? Yeah, it ends up almost like contouring it a little bit.
I would say from here it looks just like pencil.
I know, right?
Just that same quality of gray, that same coolness.
And then do the other side the same way. And you know what? If you accidentally did this with your black pen, just keep going and you'll get a different look, but it'll still be, I think, pretty cool. All right, so we have one done there. You can already see the difference. We're getting like some depth going here, some texture. Pretty cool. I'm gonna try this one here.
This process of adding weighted lines, it's a beautiful texture, and you get kind of a rhythm going when you start, and everybody's will have a different quality to them, but yours will have its own pattern.
So this is, it's a little bit, these stripes are kind of feel a little bit like senna to me, but you know how you have these sort of radiating lines, but they're auraing at the same time. And as you can see, every time I start a new kind of bell, I like to start somewhere in the middle. Oh, that's already so pretty. All right, so we are working in layers. Me and Martha are kind of flip-flopping back and forth and sort of being like, okay, what should we do next? So
we were looking at this and thinking that it could do more.
Maybe some more.
I think we should do some more.
As we are all looking at our tiles here, I think we thought that we could kind of beef this up a little bit.
Beef it up.
Yeah.
Maybe draw behind.
We're going to draw behind.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go back to where we started with the 08 black pen. We're going to play around with just, again, adding layers, and then we'll be kind of emphasizing all these things soon with some different tools and graphites. So what I'm going to do is, remember these original little spines that we drew, and I'm going to go add a few more, just as sort of singular spines, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So they're just going to grow off of our original kind of setup here. And this one will be completely behind whatever it runs up against. So I'm going to kind of do that there, behind that. There's one. One over here.
Just building some depth by drawing behind.
So when I'm drawing on the right, I don't know if you can see how synchronistic this is. It's the space between all these auras here. When I'm drawing the spine on the right, I always start my first stroke down below. Be another one here. So I like this element here where I can see that aura spacing and kind of go with it. Maybe this is a double one, maybe a little absy.
Oh, now you're getting crazy.
Okay. All right. So how did we do this one? We're going to start down here. Then we have to do this one. This comes behind.
Wow, that is definitely drawn behind. Oh, that is very cool.
I feel like we need a little one down here.
I was thinking the same thing.
Kind of a smaller one with a little. They're just so fun to do. But you get the idea. It's all about alternating sides. And while you have your black pen, you can kind of start to see where these pods or bell shapes, blossoms, they kind of come together. You can add little bits of ink as they kind of join in. Anytime you have two lines that meet, it's an opportunity to, I don't know, add a little glue. And we're going to keep going with this theme that we have, filling in these foundabouts, again with the half moon inked in pods on either side of the spines.
I'm like super obsessed with this. It's so beautiful.
It is actually really blossoming right now. I'm loving it too. And I already know that you guys have your wheels turning in your heads right now, just thinking about all the things that you're learning and what you're going to do maybe the next time a little bit differently, and things that you're going to explore. So I think we should kind of continue on with our theme that we have here. And Molly did such a great job putting in those beautiful weighted lines. Would you come back and put some more in?
I would love to.
So, I mean, Martha probably made it look very kind of random, but I think each time she added these sort of next layer ones, she kind of looked at her tile and spent some time kind of figuring out where it was almost like she was like a florist trying to fit the space in there. And I felt like it was very thoughtful where each one was going.
when we tangle together, it's kind of like I don't know, it's this fun little challenge that we hand each other a tile that when somebody else has drawn it, it might not be the way your mind was going, but we kind of challenge each other that way. It's kind of like that's the story jam where you say a sentence in a story and then somebody else has to say the next sentence.
I like that.
Well, isn't that what we're doing? We're telling a story here.
We definitely are. This seems like a feel-good story. If this tile were to have a story, be like a feel-good one.
It's
All
really
right.
neat.
So
It's
pretty, and
pretty.
we haven't even shaded it yet. All right, so I'm going to use my graphite pencil to start adding a little drama to this because it looks amazing as it is, but I think we need to find some depth here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with a really sharp pencil, and I'm going to do one just to show you what I'm trying to do. Look, see how this pencil almost like mimics that pen? It's really cool. Do it right along the edge, and then a little bit right around the crescent moon shape, then a little bit. And I'm going to take on a nice sharp tortillon, if that makes any sense. And I'm just going to gently go over that pencil, not too much, because I really want to hang on to the white part.
That is already dramatically different.
Isn't that cool?
Really beautiful.
And then I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of my foundabouts. Again, a nice sharp pencil because I didn't want like too thick of a line down here. I'm kind of just playing around with.
And you're just kind of going on the outer loop.
I am going to hit just the outside of the one that's behind too.
Kind of defining each one.
Yep. So you can kind of see right there in the middle of the one I've done. Very awesome. But yeah, take your time, get into your zone with your pencil. I always encourage my students to take your time with your shading. It's part of the tangling process, and to me, it's it's almost like you turn into a sculptor. You all of a sudden are finding all kinds of dimension.
Well, you're looking at what you want to emphasize as well.
Right?
I think that when you're working, I mean, essentially we took this tangle foundabout and we used it as a reticula of sorts. And so all of these areas that Molly put, those weighted lines, those are all kind of fragment spaces. And when you're using fragments like this, you can really get into the zone because you're doing something over and over. But
Martha, what's a fragment and what's a reticula?
Good question. Well, I believe in a chicken and an egg kind of way that the reticula really should come first because it's what we put the fragments inside. So basically a reticula is, in its traditional form, it's a grid. And when we use an actual tangle as a reticula, we kind of stretch that out. We call it either using a tangle as a reticula or as an alternative grid. So a grid is something that's divided up into spaces. Some could be equal and some could be not equal. And you fill it with a fragment or a kind of a mini tangle, if you will, or a repeating series of lines or strokes. That sound right?
Yeah, that does sound right. I just know that some people might not know the all the Zentangle.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing
vocabulary
technique, if you will, for creating endless tangles. You can pick any type of grid, alternative or triangular or square or circles or any shape.
This is a very alternative one.
This is an alternative. And then fill it with a repeating series of strokes.
Shading to me is all about layers. Like, first put down one type of shading, work it all the way in, take a look at your work, and then, put in another layer.
This is a great example of maybe cataloging what this tile might have looked like before we took a pencil to it.
Oh, right.
Before and after is really
a little late for that now, though.
Well, if you're just watching this through before you tangle, I would recommend.
And take your time. Like I said earlier, I like to work with a nice sharp pencil because I can get a little more detail.
And it allows you to kind of make sure that those spaces that you want to leave unshaded remain kind of pure.
Yeah, you really need the unshaded bits to get the contrast in there.
One of my favorite parts of shading, you're going to laugh, Molly.
I'm going to laugh?
You are, because it is, when you're in a room full of people that are shading, it's almost like a symphony. There's the sound of the pencils and the sound of the tortillons. And when you have a lot of people doing it, it can be quite audible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do enjoy that too. It's this energy that gets...
It's like a bunch of mad scientists creating something fantastically wild and beautiful.
Because I feel like by the time you're shading a tile, everybody's kind of now owning their work. They're like, the uncertainties have kind of evaporated and they're taking chances and responding to their own strokes. Wow. That's really pretty, Martha. But wait, there's more. So that's sort of my first go at shading, which I think is pretty awesome. I'm going to go in for a deep dive, Martha.
Whoa. Hang on.
I'm going to use this new General's 555, which is a much, much softer, darker, richer, silky, smooth graphite. And I'm going to add some to those places that I feel like are behind, so we're playing with that drawing behind. So I'm going to go into these little nooks where I kind of feel like I want an extra bit. So right here feels like I want to, I just want my tortillon. And you can use the same tortillon, that doesn't, doing a little bit there. Maybe, you don't need too much. You can kind of just, here it looks.
It's really fun and bold and
yeah. You can kind of, pick up your tile here and there.
Yeah, and step away from it or back, hold it away from you so you can really see the light and the dark.
I don't know if you noticed, but I'm kind of leaving these stems white because that seems to be fun, that it's like pulling towards the front.
And you can go for another layer as well. I mean, you could keep going.
Right? Oh, this is really very dimensional. If you want to, you can pick up your white charcoal and
oh, there you go.
Yeah, just a little bit right over that.
That's really fantastic.
Right? Look at that,
so
though.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You don't really need the tortillon, do you, with that?
And then as Martha was doing with her 08, I like to go back in with my 01. And especially after I've shaded, because shading can kind of dull your pen strokes. So you can go back in and add with the finer pen, which feels so fine right now. just like some
Oh yeah, redefining the line.
sculpting, and I actually love doing this. Believe it or not, it actually makes such a difference. You know, you start off with a thicker pen though, so this really even do a couple of the spines if you wanted to. You don't have to do all of it, but it's a nice little, add a little weighting here and there. Wow, that's pretty cool. And then one last touch, Martha. I know you're like, are you done?
I know what you're gonna do.
I know, I love to do this. So with my white jelly roll, and I like to have a piece of paper here, I always do a little scribble in my jelly roll first because you never know what's stuck on top there. And this is a fun touch. I like to just put a little,
like a wink.
it's a little like sparkle on my, almost like they're wet.
Yes, and the jelly roll does stay wet for a minute, so.
Yep, that's why I turned my tile. So it's a pretty simple tile, but we put a little bit of time into all these to get to this point, and I would say it was, I don't know, worth it.
I would say, I don't know.
Yeah, this was a beauty. Can't wait to see what you guys are gonna do with this. I'm gonna throw our chops on here. All right, friends. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little thematic lesson on drawing behind with Foundabout. And me and Martha wish you a happy 12 days of Zentangle.
Yes, we can't wait to see your foundabouts.
Take care.
Have a great day.